Hello my Funatics, hope you are well. This is going to be my GBA Season 6 Week 5 match against Chimpact, the man himself. I'm really sorry it's coming out late, it's because I've had issues with getting the replay and also internet problems and things, which have just been not a very good time, and so I'm sorry it's late, but it's coming now and I hope that's okay with you. I'm going to do a quick team builder bit first, and I say quick because the match itself is probably one of the longest matches I've ever had, so I'll try and keep it brief and dive right into it now. So Chimpact has a number of offensive threats that would threaten my team quite a lot in terms of Diancie, Tornadus, and Scolipede, and also the Rain offense. I really did think the Rain offense was coming because it matches up very well against my team. The only thing I have to take Dragon type attacks very well is Klefki, and that gets really punished by a rain boosted Hydro or whatever that Kingdom might want to throw at it. And not only that, but Politoed itself does quite well against my team because an Encore Politoed would shut down a Carmine Suicune or something like that. So yeah, I thought the pair of those would actually work very well against my team, so I expected that. And then if Chimp was going that way, I would also expect it to be just generally quite an offensive team. So that's what I was anticipating. The things that I brought for that then is I brought a Kyurem. It's a modest Kyurem that will hit really hard. It also has a Habanberry for like an emergency check for Kingdra in rain, because I can then take a Draco. Not very well though, even with Haban it's going to do a ton of damage. But then I can Dragon Pulse it and revenge it. I've got Earth Power to hit things like, I thought that Metagross would be coming, so if it wants to try and switch in, then that's fine. Metagross would potentially be a check to my Dragons. It can do like Bullet Punching on the Kyurem, and it can break Mortiscale with a Bullet Punch on the Dragonite if I've set up, so it's got a number of options there. Also, it can do Pursuits and Shenanigans. I thought Metagross matched up pretty well. I've got Toxic because I'm aware that Chimp does actually have some considerable bulk, which I'm not particularly expecting. But I've got Toxic there as an option because I thought that Ice Beam probably, with all the water types he has 4 water types on his draft, as well as steel types and things. So Ice wasn't super useful here. It would have been maybe helpful to take down the Tornadus, but that's about it. And then Roost just for longevity, because if rocks are up, might be an issue. So that's the Kyurem I'm bringing. I'm bringing a Bat. This thing is going to be really crucial for revenge killing stuff like Tornadus and Diancie. I've got a Charty Berry there so that I can potentially take out the Scolipede as well if it tries to Rock Slide me. Brave Bird just there for Strong Stab. This week, rather than the time I went against Tup, I'm going to invest in attack because it is my fastest thing and I will rely on it for killing stuff. I've also got Steel Wing there for Diancie, which is a guaranteed KO after rocks, but it does have a chance to OHKO even without rocks. We've got Defog there because there's the potential for Hazard Stack on Chimp's team. If he's going offense, or even if he's not, then the hazards could definitely come. I think that lead Scolipede is more likely than like a sweeper Scolipede against my team. But also more because I'm bringing both my Dragons, and especially because Dragonite's coming, it doesn't have the easiest time setting up on Chimp's team, but I do think that if it does set up, it could do a lot of damage. But for that to happen, I would need multi-scale, unlike some other weeks where I can kind of just bulk out hits or choose something that can't hit me to set up on. That's not really an option against Chimp, so I've got Defog there to try and maintain my multi-scale. And then Roost just to keep Bat around because he is actually really crucial for being able to check some of those offensive threats. And Speed is just outspeed Tornadus, basically. We've got Stoggy Doggy here coming as kind of... this was suggested by my good friend Bob Zargs on Twitter. I'll probably link him in the description because he's like so helpful and he's amazing, and he's like helps me with the team building just to have a look over to see what I'm doing. But this was his suggestion and I thought it was very, very good. Chimp doesn't really have anything to take ghost type moves, so I got a Carmine Suicune with Shadow Ball because I thought that would be pretty good. It can set up on a number of things and he doesn't have easy ways to take it down. It's much better than a Scald Suicune because of stuff like Encore Politoed and Kingdra being able to tank it out. So yeah, I definitely thought this was a pretty interesting and cool set, and it keeps stuff in check as well, so that's pretty nice. Next Pokemon is the setup Dragonite that I mentioned before. I've gone with Yachi. Again, I'm gonna struggle to set up on stuff, so I might have to set up on a water type that could potentially do that. There's also things that can carry random hidden powers, maybe a Metagross with Ice Punch, stuff like that. So it was kind of there for that. Extreme Speed will be necessary to kill maybe a set up Scolipede. It could be there for revenge killing as well, Tornadus and stuff. But if I get the Dragon Dance up, then Earthquake's going to be taking care of Diancie. Dragon Claw does a lot of damage to the rest of the things. But I need to be aware of some of the bulky stuff as well that he could bring that might want to take me out. So I'd need to whittle that first. Stuff like, let's say, Metagross or Blastoise even, if he does want to bring some hazard removal. So yeah, that was just something that I was bearing in mind. Next Pokemon is Stew the Mew. This week we're going with a Stealth Rock Mew. I don't think I've brought Stealth Rock on Mew yet. I think it's mainly been Crook. But yeah, Stealth Rock Mew. Roost to keep it around. This is actually my Diancie check. It can switch in on Diancie. It's probably the only thing on my team that can. So I needed it. Knockoff is there to just get rid of items that will be really crucial. And then Iron Head for Diancie because, as I say, I need to keep that in check. So that is basically the Mew set, and finally we've got Klefki here with the screens there to help Dragonite set up. And then I decided to go for spikes as well to maybe keep some pressure on, because that could really help out with some of the bulky things that I mentioned before, because that means that Dragonite's more likely going to be able to get that sweep. Flash Cannon is my only move just because Diancie is really scary and I was scared of it. So that is the team. We will get into the battle now. Okay, so in the team matchup, I see that I've predicted completely wrong, and Chimp has gone with a really bulky team, bringing mons like Steelix that I definitely didn't see coming. I definitely thought that the Metagross would be the more likely Steel type. Cofagrigus I thought might come again. Blastoise I thought might come, but probably not because I was expecting Rain so much, and there's a lot of Water type cover. Anyway, it's not what I was expecting. I do have stuff for the offense, the faster mons that he's brought, but I might have a bit of trouble breaking through those walls. Suicune is still looking pretty good. He does have Shufflers there though, which I need to be aware of, and I'm so glad that I did bring Default Crobat because I'm guessing that the hazards are going to be raining down on my side of the field. As you can see, this is going to be from Chimp's point of view. I derped and didn't save the replay, so I have to do it from Chimp's point of view. I hope that's not too disconcerting for you. We'll jump right into it because, as I say, it's going to be a long one. So in terms of leads, I just went with Crobat because I was maybe anticipating a lead Scolipede to get some hazards up. But that's not what happens. He leads with Tornadus. I don't really want to exchange with this thing. I can probably take a hit, but I'm not going to try. Just going to go into Klefki, my safest option, as he knocks off my Light Clay straight away. Not too big a deal, because really I only need a couple of turns to set up with Dragonite, and then I should be okay to go. But it is a bit unfortunate, because that might have helped me throughout the match if I had longer screens up. But anyway, I'm going to switch out here as I think that he's probably going to go into Steelix, and I'm going to go into my Kyurem just to fire off an Earth Power as Chimp scouts for that and goes into Blastoise. We are going a bit faster here because, as I say, this is a long one. It actually goes like right down to the timer, so be prepared for that. So yeah, I get a bit of damage on Blastoise, and now I'm just going to go for a Toxic, because if I could Toxic Blastoise, that would be great. He has no residual recovery, so that would be really useful. As actually Tornadus comes in, which is fine for me, because if I can get some residual going on this as well, that would be really useful. Now I'm going to go straight back into my Klefki. I was kind of concerned about maybe a Focus Blast coming my way, or a Superpower. So Klefki would probably be the best thing to switch into there, as I don't really know what he was wanting to go for. And I'm going for a Flash Cannon here, probably not my best play. Getting a layer of spikes might have been more useful, but if he had Heat Wave or something, I don't know if that would be too great. I wasn't really sure. I probably should have anticipated the Steelix, to be fair, and gone for my Kyurem again. But if he had stayed in or U-turned with his Tornadus, it wouldn't have helped. I was probably thinking maybe U-turn was coming, but now I go for a Dragon Pulse, over predicting, and that's not good. I was thinking that Tornadus might want to come in again, predicting the Earth Power. I go for a Roost here, just to gauge damage, and from that stage, like if it's a defensive or an offensive Steelix rather than specially defensive, I would have been able to take him out with Earth Power. That's actually not the case, though. I sack my Kyurem here, which is probably very, very stupid of me because I needed that power to break through, but more than that, I really needed damage on the Steelix. I had nothing else that could deal with it, like, at all. I just was so unprepared for Steelix. So the only thing that I have really is Mew's knockoff to get rid of its residual recovery, and then it will eventually go down. But I needed damage on Steelix. I just needed damage on Steelix basically, and that was really the only way that I could see of getting it in that instance. So I go into Suicune there, and I do reveal Shadow Ball. There wasn't really any point setting up at this stage, as he goes straight into Tornadus and reveals the Grass Knot. Which is really interesting. The way he's been playing his Tornadus is really, I don't know, he's playing it very strangely, and I'm thinking at this stage that it might be choice, maybe choice specs, the way he wanted to bring it in on the Suicune to get the Grass Knot off, because unless it's specs, it's not going to be doing all that much damage against a +1 Suicune. So that's what's in my mind at the moment. I'm going to go into Mew here, just wanting to get a knockoff off on that Steelix to stop it from being able to get up to health as the Scully comes in, and I'm able to knock off its Black Sludge, which is definitely telling me that it's probably more of a hazard stacking set, although obviously it will carry the some offensive moves. So we see here that it does have the Mega Horn. As I go into my Crobat, I have the Charty, so that was kind of a safest switch in, although if he had just gone for 2 Rock Slides, then that wouldn't have been ideal. But I do still have my Klefki around to maybe paralyze it or whatever. I just go for a Brave Bird here, because if he had gone for a Rock Slide that turn, then he would have popped my thing and been able to kill me the next turn if I hadn't gone for Brave Bird, so that wouldn't have been okay. Now I go into my Suicune on the Cofagrigus. I don't really want anything burned other than Suicune that can rest up. That was my thinking really, and Suicune can take Shadow Balls quite easily as well. Again, looking like probably a Spadef Cofag, because it doesn't need that much investment on the defensive side really, so... and I get a Shadow Ball off on Tornadus, get a Spadef drop that's completely irrelevant because I'm going to switch out anyway. And we see here that Tornadus is adamant on getting that Grass Knot off on my Suicune, which is not something that I'm going to let happen anytime soon. So yes, he's going to switch out into his Steelix here, and do I predict it? I think I do. I tried to predict Steelix as much as I can because I can't afford it. Can't afford it getting up that lefties recovery, but at this stage it doesn't feel like I'm making too much headway with that. I do want to get my rocks up here because then I can maybe force in some other things to maybe gain me some momentum. And also getting some rocks damage on Tornadus will help whittle it down, because I do have the Toxic going for me, but at the moment that's just not enough. I'm not getting any damage on it over the long term because of Regenerator. So I'm switching back into Suicune on this Cofagrigus, and yeah, Chimp's team is really quite strong against the one that I brought, because he does seem to have answers to everything. There are ways that I can... so at the moment, the ways that I can win are my Suicune can potentially set up with the Calm Minds, and that is probably a good way of doing it, but he does have potential shufflers in Raw Blastoise and Raw Steelix, things like that, which I haven't seen yet, but with this kind of a team, it wouldn't surprise me. I make a weird play here going into Mew and the T-Spikes are up. I should probably have gone straight back into Klefki there and not let my Mew get poisoned so early. It's not crucial, but it's a bit of a shame. And depending on his Diancie set, if he's got any physical attack investment, actually Diamond Storm might be a 2-hit KO now, which would be awful, seeing as though this is pretty much my Diancie check. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go into my Breaking Bat, really wanting to get that Roost off, as the Blastoise will want to go for a Rapid Spin. That's fine. I want to get the Defog off as well, though, because I need my Bat to be able to switch in relatively safely. Now, if he goes for a Scald and gets the burn, that's super bad. He actually shows the Ice Beam. It's okay, it's doing about 50%. But again, if rocks go up, I won't really be able to bring my Crobat in very safely on anything. So I do want to get another Roost off. But if he, again, I'm playing with the Scald Burn here. And luckily for me, he doesn't get it, because that would have been really, really bad. That would have been so bad. So I was fortunate there, having to make kind of dodgy plays already, because Chimp's team is forcing me to make these horrible decisions. So now I can go into Mew. Mew has the knockoff, so can probably 1v1 this Blastoise, as I've got recovery and he hasn't. So that is what I'm going to go for here. Do I go for that? Oh, I just go for a Roost because I'm quite low. Yeah. As Chimp goes into Diancie. Now, this is the point where I was like, I could go for Roost here and not reveal Iron Head, because he will probably have Protect. And he would probably want to go for it on a Mew. But at the same time, if he goes for a Diamond Storm and I go for a Roost here, because he's slower than me this turn and then faster than me the following turn, there's a chance that he could potentially 2-hit KO me if he's got a really strong Diamond Storm. But because I reveal that Iron Head, he is going to switch out. It's a bit of a shame, but the thing is, there was probably no way that I was going to be able to get that Iron Head off against Chimp anyway. If he had seen that I'd gone for Roost, he would know that I was probably trying to preserve, keep something secret, and not reveal the Iron Head, so he would probably have switched out the next turn anyway. So I don't think I'd have got that kill anytime soon, and it doesn't even kill, I don't think. I don't have any attack investment, so I think it does a lot, but I don't think it kills. So here I stay in with my Klefki to go for a Flash Cannon. Not really sure why, because it doesn't do... Maybe to gauge damage, but it's not doing any damage to the Steelix. And here I go into Dragonite, kind of predicting the Roar. I think I predict the Roar, or the Rocks, because I would have been able to Earthquake kill him from there. Yeah, so anyway, I get roared out into my Crobat. I don't want to be in on Crobat particularly, so I'm going to go into my Suicune. Yeah, he's just wanting... I can't do anything to him with Crobat, so there's no point me staying in there. So I'm going to go into my Suicune and fort him out, really, because Scald is a threat, and I can just go for a Shadow Ball, trying to get some damage on something. With the rocks up, I've got a bit of damage on the Tornadus, and if I can keep it staying in with the toxic damage, I can keep a little bit of damage on Tornadus, which will be really helpful in terms of trying to take it out later with maybe a Brave Bird, because I need some damage on for that. So as you can see here, the main issue is that my Klefki is being worn down and has no recovery, and that's probably... that's the thing that it's kind of like a time limit. Like, Chimp's playing really well. A lot of my mons aren't having too much of a problem. Like, Suicune can heal up, Mew can heal up, Crobat can heal up, and it's all fine. But Klefki is the one that can't, and that is kind of the limiting factor here. I need to get myself into more of a position to be able to use the momentum that I'll get when Klefki goes down. So... That's what's happening right now. I don't know. Sorry if you guys don't find this kind of a battle very interesting. I find it very interesting. This was like, it was like so you would like every turn is like a mental battle as to like how to try and get the momentum, and we're both wrestling, and it's really tough. And at the moment, because the spikes are up now as well, that Klefki's getting whittled even more. So it can only switch in like a couple more times maybe, so not great. Do I predict the Blastoise here, or do I predict the Steelix? Either way, yeah, Mew's probably my best play. So I'll probably want to Roost up here, and yeah, I'll probably want to Roost up here and then knock off something, but he actually just goes into his Scolipede, so I'm not going to do that. I think I just Roost and then have to switch out. Scolipede's getting whittled as well, which is nice. It's kind of a threat to my team. If Klefki goes down, then Crobat is my only stop to it, but Crobat has to keep coming in on hazards and stuff, which isn't great. And even with the Charty Berry, a Rock Slide can do a bit of damage. not a ton, but I need to keep it healthy enough for that. Now, my Suicune comes in here. I think if that Mega Horn had hit, there's a very small chance that that might 2-hit KO, but I don't think it could because of the lefties. So I'm just going to go for another Shadow Ball here because with another turn of lefties, I definitely would have been able to take 2 Mega Horns. And yeah, I'm going to switch out because of the Grass Knot again. As the knockoff comes, which is unfortunate because he knocks off my Charty Berry. But obviously at this stage, I'm kind of concerned that Klefki is getting really low, so I didn't particularly want to make that switch, and I was hoping that Grass Knot was coming because Crobat would have been able to eat that up, which would have been really good. Unfortunately, the Steelix comes in, and he's going to force me out again. Steelix is now already at half health when I got him down to the red with my Kyurem. Kyurem's sacrifice is looking even more, like, completely redundant. So, yeah. Anyway, there's still definitely wiggle room here. Dragonite can potentially do a lot of damage. Damage enough to the extent where maybe I can win with, I don't know, Suicune. But at this stage, the timer is going down quite rapidly. And I don't know, this is maybe halfway through the battle. Yeah, it is pretty long, this one. So Suicune's getting a bit more damaged. I'm going to have to eat a Shadow Ball too. If the Spadef drop happens, then that would have been super awful. But I will be able to get the rest off right now, which is what I need to do as the Tornadus comes in again. And yeah, it's just like back and forth. Chimp's prep was so great though. Like, this is just not what I was expecting at all. I did tell him after that I was expecting the rain, and he said that he had really considered it, but then went with this one instead. And props to him for recognising that this is the team that I would struggle to. With my draft, I think it would have been hard for me to cover both this and like an offense team particularly well. So here I'm really having to struggle to try and get myself into the position where the things that I have brought can do work. So I'm going to default here as the Steelix comes in, and hopefully get some momentum from that by forcing him to go for rocks again, and then I can switch into something else. What do I go into here? I go into Mew to try and get the knockoff again. Although the likelihood is that he's just going to get spiked up again with Scolipede, so I could try to predict Scolipede here, but then he could just roar me instead, although that's unlikely because he'll want to keep his lefties on the Steelix. But anyway, yeah, he's actually going to go into his Kofag as like a knock, and he has the Colder. So I get the Mummy. It's completely irrelevant because I'm already poisoned by the Toxic Spikes. And here he's just going to go for a Shadow Ball. I was thinking, oh, is he going for Toxic Spikes? But I've got a Sleeping Suicune and a Poisoned Mew, and nothing else is affected by Toxic Spikes. So nope, he's just going to go for a Shadow Ball. And that's alright. I bring my Suicune in. I believe I just switched straight out predicting the Taunt because there's no real reason for me to do anything else. As I go into Breaking Bat, and right now is now I'm kind of thinking, now I need to do something. I need to get myself in a better position here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a Defog because I need those rocks gone. I know that I'm sacking my Crobat at this stage, which is pretty scary actually, because it's a good check to Diancie and to the Tornadus. But now I'm going to go into my Dragonite because I've got the Yachi and my Multiscale up, so this is not going to do too much damage. But actually it does a chunk, and that's confirming to me that he is actually Specs. So I can Dragon Dance here. I get the +1 attack, and that should be enough to take out the Tornadus pretty easily. So I want to go for an E-Speed, and I do go for an E-Speed, but that wasn't the play that I should have made because he goes into the Steelix, and I thought that this would be okay because I thought it's fine. I'll just be able to EQ. I'm +1. EQ will be able to take him out, and that will be really, really good. But no, he lives on 1 health. I didn't see that it was 1 health at the time, but I knew that it was a flipping roll. But yeah, that was so excruciating, because if I had just killed this, I would have kept my +1 attack, and anything else that would want to come in would have had to, deal with the +1 attack thing. It might have been Deancey though. That's probably his most likely. Anyway, it's irrelevant. His EV spread was perfect. So props to Chip for that. That was amazing. And it's just really, really disappointing. So it's Dragonite is still useful. The E-Speed is still really useful. I go into Mew here and I get my rocks up. I'm just going to sack it because at this stage I don't really have great switches. I don't want Suicune that's sleeping to come in on this because it wouldn't necessarily take it on 1-on-1. So anyway, I go back into my Dragonite and I get the +1 off so that I can hopefully kill this thing with extreme speed and then go from there, because anything else that comes in is going to take a huge hit. But he lives on 3! Like, seriously? Why? I can't catch a break. That would have been so good if I killed his Scolipede, because then I'd have been able to get a big Dragon Claw on maybe Blastoise or the Cofagrigus, something like that. And then I'd have had an easier time setting up with Suicune this turn. I go for a Sleep Talk here. At this stage, Suicune actually looks really good. He doesn't have brilliant answers for it. He's only got his Tornadus, and if I got a Calm Mind, which you can see I did, and he had switched in that turn, I would have been able to take the Grass Knots pretty well. The Mega Horn's not doing enough damage, and he can't roar me out anymore, so he doesn't really have any stops to this. But the timer was on like 2 minutes, so there was like no way that I was even going to get a kill, let alone sweep with this thing. But it turns out that all of this is completely irrelevant anyway, because the Tornadus goes for a Grass Knot and gets a crit. So it doesn't even come down to the timer. In the end, the crit just negates all that anyway. But yeah, it was really frustrating because in the end, Suicune was probably my best win con. If I had just sacked all my Mons and gone for the sweep with Suicune, then that was something that probably would have worked. If I had, sacked my Mons, got screens up with Klefki so that I could calm mind a bit on the Tornadus, and then just proceed to just kill his team with Shadow Ball. That would have been my best way to win that one, I think. The timer meant that there was no way that could happen because I hadn't identified that soon enough. So Chimp, wow, your team prep was insanely good, and I was so unprepared for that team. I mean, not to say that I didn't have ways that I could have made a better show, because that's a 6 though, guys. That's really bad. I don't think that's... I'm not going to take that to heart, because I don't think that... I think that it was my fault in terms of I prepped for the wrong team, but equally, it was hard for me to cover all bases, I think, this week, and also Chimp worked so hard on that team and he deserves it. I had put a lot of thought into my team, but obviously not enough, so well done, Chimp. I thought I played it out okay as well. I didn't make too many mistakes. It's just there wasn't much that I could have done in that game differently. I just needed to identify that Suicune was my win con earlier and maybe get myself into a position where the Suicune sweep was more likely, but I mean, crits happen anyway, so if I had done that, he might just been half the time and he crit me anyway, so yeah, it's hard to know. But that's the game against Chimp. Thank you very much for the game, Chimp. Please check out all the links in the description below. I'll put Chimp's one there, and also, as I say, Zarg's Bob, who helps me look over my teams, so check him out too, because he's a great league battler, really, really good. So please do that. All that's left to be said is, first of all that's left to be said is, this is bad, and I'm 0-5 right now. I need to make some changes, and I need to turn this around, and I'm really, really determined to do that. I still haven't made changes to my team just because I haven't really had time to think about it, especially this week. I'm hoping that, that can be done now because I've got some ideas. But yeah, I really want to change that. I want to. Next week is my last opportunity to get a win in the first half of the season, and I can't go a whole half season without any wins. So I am determined. I am really determined. I'm going against Geo next time, so check that out. I've been awesome. I've been awesome. No, I haven't. I've been like the opposite of awesome. That was such a bad dub. You guys have been awesome as always. I've been kind of mediocre so far. Hope you're all good, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.